Yo, what up, guys? It's your boy DJ J Steezy, Steezy.
Jedi.
And today's special guest on Triple Scoop ENT, we have.
Yeah, you already know what it is. Got my ear to the streets cause I'm in the loop. It's a DJ Jedi in the triple scoop. We got the beat locked.
And J Steezy, don't worry about a thing, gotta keep it easy. So tune on in.
Cause the show's about to begin. Started with some friends, but this ish came alive. So fuck a hater and just hit subscribe.
Yeah, what's up? This is Lil Mondo, and you are tuned in to Triple Scoop Entertainment.
Yo, what's going down, yo? It's your homeboy C1, man. I want to give a big old shout out to my homeboys from Triple Scoop Entertainment, man. Keep it locked, y'all. Yee!
What's up, people? This is Milio, aka Freddie Merc, representing Empty Lot, and you're tuned in to Triple Scoop Entertainment.
This is Crazy Ass Tig, and you're tuned in to Triple Scoop Entertainment.
Hey guys, it's your girl J-Rocks, and you're tuning in to Triple Scoop Entertainment.
Yo, what's up, man? It's your boy Critical, and you are tuned in to Triple Scoop Entertainment. Now, I mean,
Hey, this is Gracie Armijo, and you're tuning into Triple Scoop Entertainment.
Excuse me! This is Vicky Guerrero, and you're with Triple Scoop Entertainment. You better watch, download, and subscribe. I said, orderly!
Yo, what up, guys? It's your boy DJ J Steezy.
DJ Jedi.
Today's special guest, we got Ramon Castro, Marine Corps veteran, and Brawley City Councilman. And thank you for coming back to the show, man. You know, I know you last time you came, you know, with the Blue Falcon crew, and this time we have you on because you did something amazing.
Yeah.
And, you know, we want to congratulate you, and, you know, it's awesome that you did that. And like you said, it needs to be brought out to the light and have more attention on it.
Yeah, no, man, I appreciate it. You know, it's funny. It's been a year and a half right when we came on last time. Brought Ernie and Raymond and the Blue Falcon crew, and that's probably one of the funnest interviews that I've done. It was so much trash talking, and we bashed on Ernie so bad, and I think Ernie kept letting you guys have it, and your other guy.
I was a little disappointed. I thought you guys were gonna start like a record label or something.
No, so we're not done. We've actually all ventured off into different things. Like Ernie's doing all his T-shirt thing. By the way, I think I should have some free stock in that, because I mean I wore his T-shirts across his walk. Mindset and a few of Mindset, I got a lot of people ask me, well, where'd you get that shirt? And I was like, oh, that's my boy, you know, Ernie. And then Raymond's
free plugs.
Yeah, he got a bunch of free ones, man. I got.
Come on, Ernie, what's up, dog?
It's still going. I mean, you know, he's trying to pay me in other ways, but you know, if it's not money, I'm not interested. You know? So,
Right, if it ain't green.
yeah, that's right. So just a whole bunch of stuff happening now, though, and obviously you've seen the stuff that I've been caught up with, and it's taken us to like another status, I guess, and it's elevated kind of the work that I'm doing, and I don't like to put it as like me, but more our work and what the things were behind it, right? There are a lot of people involved in everything that we do, and even including this walk where I was highlighted across the. It was it was international news, and this was, you know, put out across the world, and I was the one that was highlighted. But this was like a team effort. It was like Oscar Suarez behind me, and like hey, without him, I did this walk, and
I heard he's writing a book.
what it's like to you know, drive for a dumbass across the country, you know, like a diva knucklehead like me.
So the people that watch our show, you know, listen to our podcast on Spotify, you know, all our platforms, and don't know what we're talking about, this man right here did something really crazy that I don't think anybody would actually even think of doing. But
First up, look up Imperial Valley, then the weather right now.
yes, and then, you know, the weather in Texas itself. So what Ramon did here is, you know, he walked the whole Mexican-U.S. border, and to bring awareness to our deported veterans.
Yeah. So, I mean, people have done this all the time. People do extreme stuff all the time. This is not something unique. Yeah, but what made it real weird, interesting, was that people usually pick fair weather for this, right? And coming through Imperial County in June, July, and I actually crossed Imperial County in July. It's not pleasant. And then going through into Texas in July, and Arizona. So I did San Diego, that was the easiest part of my walk, was on that beach. But as soon as we hit Imperial County, that fair weather is over. Arizona, we hit monsoon season. That was interesting. Arizona and New Mexico, so there was a lot of heat, a lot of rain. All the weird stuff in between. And then Texas, we have a little bit of nice weather, but when I say nice, I mean 50% humidity and like 98 degrees or 102, 104. Yeah. It's nice compared to 120 something in Imperial County.
Right.
So we got through it, and as soon as we got to the valley, or the Rio Grande Valley area, right, the humidity was just, it's the South, bro. If you've ever been to the South, to South Carolina, North Carolina, Mississippi, that, I mean, the humidity is miserable, and I had forgotten about that, and I'm terrified of it, and it bit me good, man. Like, even now coming home and working in the heat, it gets me, but it was an interesting experience. I just took it one day at a time, one step at a time, and when I come home, I got a call from somebody that said, "Yeah, man, everybody's talking about it." And I'm like, "Everybody who? Okay, the whole valley. You run to stores and you go to the restaurants, and people are talking about it." I'm like, huh, that's interesting. I had no clue. And, I was focused on completing the mission. And once I get home, and now that my body's recovering, and especially, like I just say, I tried to do this walk the other day, and I was 13 miles. I only did 10. Stress fracture started to heat up pretty bad, and I was in a lot of pain. And honestly, I needed Oscar. I needed painkillers. I needed water. I needed a change of socks. And
that's what I wanted to ask about. How do you prep for something like that?
So one is, your body is just going to take a beating, and you got to be mentally prepared for that. And mentally prepared, that stuff came from the Marine Corps, right? So the grit, all that, just the mental toughness comes from that. And then just knowing that some of us, when we run our mouth, we keep our word, right? Like, I'm embarrassed to not fulfill whatever crap it is that I come up with today or tomorrow. Right. I'm embarrassed if I fail. And if I don't do it, I got to have a real good explanation for it. And so I kept thinking to myself every day, if I don't finish, I got to go back. I got to go answer the newspapers. I got to go answer to everyone, what happened? Why didn't you finish? And the answer would have been obvious, and most people would have said, let's extend it. But I had to meet a deadline, and that was August 11th, because there are more pressing matters, right? You can't just be on the walk all day. We have other ways to make stuff happen. But anyways, I would have had to come home. I would have to explain the papers, and then I would have to look at my son and tell him why I failed, my daughters. And that, to me, is more embarrassing to tell my children why I failed and didn't come through with what I said I was going to do than telling anybody else, telling the papers. This shit happens all the time. People fail all the time. Yeah. But they fail because there are other reasons, not when they fail just simply because they gave up. That, to me, is just a quitter or loser mentality, and that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to me. It's unacceptable in my household. And honestly, I don't think I've ever let anybody quit around me. We failed. Yes, that happens. But quitting is not exactly like the best way. You know what I mean? And to me, having to come home, and then here, I'm well known in the community, right? I'm a city councilman. You imagine that? Like, oh yeah, that guy ain't shit. He quit. So, but yeah, more importantly, I have to set an example for my children, and I'm a knucklehead in a million ways. But I think that them and other kids, my nieces and nephews and everyone around me, can take that as an example and be like, well, man, I'm nothing special. I'm 5'4". I'm a little chubby guy. There's no extra. I'm not like some sort of alien with special physical abilities. If I can do it, if I can do something like that, anybody can do it. And just remember that is mental. It's the mental aspect, because my body wanted to quit after 1.5 miles on the day one. You know what I mean? After day two, blisters had flared up on my feet. I could already feel one knee I felt like I had blown out. It was fine. I could feel the stress fractures in my calves. Felt like they were going to tear out of place. But the body says, hey, now it's time to chill. That's what pain is, right? Hey, don't push it too much. Right. but the mind says something else. So we got to adjust. So I started rapping, and sports tape is a real good friend of anybody who has to deal with injuries and keep performing. And I use that a lot. So we just one step at a time, one tape at a time. By the end of the walk, I think it was taking me about 45 minutes to tape up my feet. That's like so much detail going into taking care of every blister, of every angle, of my ankles, the stress fractures. But it was well worth it, man. Well worth it. Other people that were involved was Oscar Suarez, Frank Salazar handled all of our press, our media, from Vincent, Public Affairs and Strategy. My wife put together the event in Douglas with MC Magic, right? That was a great event, by the way.
Shout out MC Magic.
MC Magic, man. I guess he's cool, and I really meant it. I want to throw my chonies at him. And then, other folks like First Sergeant Ramos out in Brownsville, who put the final stretch of it together for us, like Nick Paz from El Paso, and Repatriate Our Patriots, D. James who lives in Virginia right now. So there was like a coalition that formed behind me, and it was not the original coalition that I had put together by asking people. Everyone has stuff in life, right? They got some shit going on where they can't commit. 45 days to commit to doing this something every single day, regardless whether you're at home with the computer or where you're like just making calls or where you're the driver putting up with my shitty attitude, or just me, right, getting through it. And it's a whole lot of people, a whole lot of things happening to make this a successful effort. And it worked out real good, man. Like it was meant to be, and I think I'm forgetting somebody, and it'll come to me. But there were 7-8 people involved with me across the way. Oh yeah, actual radio. Richard, who is he has his own podcast. Does a whole bunch of live streaming. He's up in San Bernardino. I got to meet him for the first time on Saturday, in person. But we have been talking, going back and forth over and over and over and over the past couple of months, and he's been extremely helpful. One, to help me put out the word. Two, I would show up and I would have to interview some more veterans that are south of the border, and I honestly didn't have the energy or the mental capacity to get through that. So I'd be like, hey, you're a guest, and he would be like, all right. He'd take over, and he's a veteran himself, and he's had some issues that he talks about, and I'll let him do that. And so he totally feels what these guys are going through and understands, how easily somebody could end up in trouble, and how our green card soldiers who aren't where the promise isn't fulfilled of them becoming citizens are then caught up in some bullshit and then end up getting deported.
So what happens when they are deported? Is there a way to bring them back, or is it like a long process?
It's a long process, man. Some of these guys are taking them a decade. I just printed out or reposted an article about a gentleman in Jamaica that just came home, I think, today, and he had been in exile for 10 years. It's a long process. It requires, a pardon. It requires typically a pardon or humanitarian, a visa or something like that. Where pretty much are dying. Or, the best and only guaranteed way to come home is you die. So they let you come home, and they can bury you in country, and with full military honors, with the full flag wrapped around your casket, and and go from there. So I think that's probably what offended me the most for them, is to know that they're not good enough to be here. They're good enough to be and serve in our country with the green card. After they screw up and they pay for their crime, they're paid twice. They get deported. And they are not good enough to be here in life. But then, hey, now you're dead. Let's bring you back, and we're gonna bury you with full military honors. Like it's just ridiculous and a real oxymoron, Right.
If you don't mind explaining, because I remember in school getting recruited or people going out there and guaranteeing, like, you know what, you go to the service, you come out, you're gonna have a job waiting for you.
Yeah,
What was your experience like? Like, did you think maybe I'm gonna get into like an office job coming out of there, or you went in there to kind of find out what you wanted to do?
Yeah, like growing up, I had a pretty rough background, right? I grew up around, drugs and drug dealers and cartels and all that stuff that I was, my family somehow we were associated with all that. I grew up with that, so I kind of left, but I left with a bitter taste, and I wanted to change some of that. So I thought that the best way to change life around me was to be law enforcement, right? But I left to the Marine Corps kind of as to escape, and one, to prove to myself and to everyone else who said I could never make it in the Marine Corps. Like, I said, I can do this. And so I take off, right? And then I have this mentality where, like, I'm going to be a Border Patrol agent, or I'm going to be a cop. And, of course, the naysayers think, oh, that's not, you'll never make it. Of course I could have made it. I could have made any law enforcement academy or anything that's out there. You put it out there. Any test that I took, I passed it with flying colors, usually top 10%. And physically, I could match any man in this world. So I could have made it. I could have been a CO, Border Patrol. There's nothing out there that's too hard. That was too hard for me then, though. And I'm too old now. So sometimes I hear that, like, oh wow, you sure? I'm like, man, get the heck out of here. Like, I can do any of those things. So, it doesn't impress me when people say, I'm some kind of special civilian infantry ranger subcommittee and Border Patrol. So they all make up this crazy shit. But then I come out and I was going through some stuff and I got in trouble. I cleared it up, but it was about 18 months of going through legal hurdles. And so life took me in a different path. I then tried to go back in the Marine Corps. And I picked up a skin condition while I was in Kuwait. And because of that skin condition, they didn't clear me to go back into the Marine Corps. So then, again, bouncing around, I ended up in the apprenticeship to become an electrician with the IBEW. I get through that. I jump up to the ranks, management, as an organizer. And then all these years later, we lose an internal election. We lose the election. I was let go by the guy that he supposed to was a friend, but he backstabbed us, right? And so all of a sudden you're like, what the heck? You sit back and you reflect on what that recruiter said to me. You are guaranteed to have a job when you come home. Everyone will take you. That's not a fact. Plus, he was talking to me in 1996, 1995, 1996, when we were at peacetime and hadn't had a war in decades. You come home after a war, you are fucked up in the head, one way, shape, or form. If you're not fucked up in the head after seeing this stuff, after facing death, after killing, or whatever experience you had over there, because if you were in country or near the area, you were at risk of dying at any time. You could have been on a ship. There are 1,000 ways to strike our troops, and if you come home, somebody said it earlier, like there's something really wrong with you. If you don't, there's nothing wrong with you, meaning you're like a psychopath or something. So everyone comes home and everyone has issues, and we have a very hard time assimilating and fitting in. The culture in the Marine Corps is very violent compared to what a civilian world is like. And you come home and you don't fit in. You don't fit in how loud you are, how aggressive you are. People look at you, and I remember those looks. People look at me like, dude, shut up, get out of here. I was annoying to people, but in the Marine Corps, I was kind of real mild compared to everyone else. I was like the little mouse in there, like real quiet. And so there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees, and I don't say this in a way to tell, our young men and women who are looking at going that, they shouldn't go, but they got to ask a lot of questions, and they got to get guarantees in writing. And if you're a green card a resident in this country and you're going to join the military, hey man, you make sure that you take care of that while you're in the service, because there are no guarantees when you come out. No one's going to give you a damn thing. Everything you get, you're going to have to fight for, and everything you get is earned, and there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees, and I don't say this to put anybody off, because I'm very proud of my service, and I think 99% of us who served are very proud of it, but it's a fact, and I think we need to be honest, right?
Yeah.
And we talked to these folks that got deported. Some of them were, one gentleman, 74-year-old Vietnam War veteran who did some atrocious, like nasty stuff in Vietnam. He followed his command, right, like the commands that were given to him, the orders, and he was Haig told him that he said back in those years you had to go in, I think every Sunday, I think twice a year or something, or once in a year, to the post office and sign in where you were at if you were a legal resident, right? And he told his commander, hey, I need to go sign in because I'm a legal resident, I'm not a citizen. And he told, what are you talking about? If you serve our country, you're an American citizen, damn it. You're not going anywhere. So he didn't go. And what happens? All these years later, he got out at, mid-20s. About 30 years later, he had been living in this country illegally for 30 years because he failed to sign in while he was on active duty and got deported 20 years ago. And he's now, living in Tijuana. I went to visit him. And I say he's okay, but he's not. He doesn't live in the best condition.
He was on your live, right?
He was on one of my lives.
I saw that one. Man, because it's like, us as civilians, and to hear these stories and hear it come out of their mouth, it's like, I was holding back tears, man, because it's just like, this dude fought for our country.
Yeah.
And it's just like, he fought for our freedom.
Yeah.
And to him to go through that, and all the other deported veterans.
Yeah.
That you touch on it. I was gonna say, it's just like, how do we get new recruits not to slip through the cracks?
And that's one thing. So two things, right? It can be done administratively, but this changes in the previous administration. And I'm not bashing anybody who supported Trump or whatever, but this is a fact. They cut the process in half. So if the number was, say, 7,000 the year prior to him coming in, when they came in, if they processed 7,000 applications during his administration, they processed 3,500 per year, based on compared to the average from the previous administrations. And that hadn't happened because although this happened under the Clinton administration, they still didn't set up all these other policies, right, to prevent people from that. It just happened because when you're out there and you're getting deployed and whatever the reason is. My point is, this president comes in now and he promises all this stuff the first 100 days, and all of a sudden he can't really do it. And legally, he has a lot of hurdles. Yeah. And he's probably more worried about, what time it is. So it's not going to happen. The only way to guarantee that a green card holder becomes a citizen, no matter what, is with a constitutional amendment. And, that takes a lot of work. But that's a task that I'm going to take on, and it's going to be, I'm going to take it on. I've already talked to several folks. I understand what the process is. All the little details, how many states and whatnot, I don't have that in front of me, and I don't remember it. But we're going to have all that put together, and it's going to require some money. It's going to require a big team. It's going to require a real strategy, right? And meanwhile, I still have to make a living. I still have to work. Right. I still have to run my business. I still have to take care of everything around, and I'm an elected official here in the city of Brawley, so I have to take care of that. So it's a lot. But I think if we build it and we build a united front with all these little organizations across the country that worked on this, I think that we can do it.
I want to ask, because it's not really to my knowledge that there was a problem like this. What brought it to your attention, or has it something that's always just been pushed behind to not make a big deal of it? Right,
and it's not the government hasn't made a big deal of it. No one's really talking about it. Some elected officials, the congressman's office here, Juan Vargas, introduced a bill years ago, and his field rep here in Imperial County, Tomas Oliva, went down with a group of officials and dignitaries, and they visited these deported veterans and TJ, and he's the one that told me about it, and I was like, whatever, bullshit, man. And when we started doing this Blue Falcon thing, that's how we ran into it. We went down there. I wanted to check it out for myself, and so did Ernie, and so did Raymond. And then you think about it, and then, you go down there, you see it for yourself. You think about it, and it's one thing, right? And you go down there, you see it for yourself, and it's a reality. And you get down there, and you sit down in a bunker, and you start shooting the shit. It's like us here together just shooting the shit, and we're in Mexico, and these guys can't come to America. Yet we're trading, we're exchanging stories from our time in service and whatnot, and where they grew up and how they grew up. And there's a few instances where I try to speak to them in Spanish, and they were like, or not me, but like Oscar. I typically try to speak to them in English. But Oscar, I remember one incident, he tried to speak to somebody in Spanish, and he was like, nah, bro, I struggle enough with it. You guys speak English, speak to me in English. Oh, he could hardly speak Spanish, and he has been in exile for 10 years now. Yeah, man. And it was shocking. And you start talking. He's from California. He's talking where he grew up. The music, the culture, and everything that we're into. Being from this area. Same thing with them. He grew up in Chula Vista, and the culture in Chula Vista and South Bay and San Diego is very similar to what we're into, right? A lot of Raider fans. I'm a Charger fan, by the way.
All right, let's get this interview already.
Well, we'll see. But anyway, you know what I mean? And you're there, and you're talking to these folks, and you're like, you're in this group, and then mentally in every way you're taken out of that area, and you're all of a sudden you're back on the block in America, and then you realize then suddenly like you realize like you're in Mexico, you get to come home. I do, right? I get to come home, but these folks around me don't, and they have children here. Some of them have been buried by their children in uniform. Some of them been wearing their dress blues and whatever other dress uniform from their military branch. There was one where there was like the son was a Marine and the daughter was a Marine, and they're wearing their dress blues and they were burying their father in Tijuana. And I saw those images and it killed me, man. I can see that. It's so fucking embarrassing to me as an American, as a patriot, as a representative of our government. It's a real fucking shame. And yes, I know I'm not supposed to cuss because all of a sudden, I'm perfect now that I'm elected official. But I'll tell you, man, it's a real fucking shame and it's embarrassing.
It's bullshit, man.
And it's real bullshit, yeah.
Well, let me tell you, as a civilian, like, not even a clue, bro. Like, because we go back to the history of the whole, joining the service, and like, there was let's just be blunt, where black people were finally allowed to serve, but they came out and they didn't have the same rights. So it's like,
Right.
we've evolved since then, but I didn't know there was like an issue this dramatic, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
If you talk about all those black troops that served in World War II, right? And they were out there fighting oppression, and they were a mass murder of a race, and then they would come home and they weren't able to sit down and have a meal in public next to the same men that they served in combat with. It's a real shame. But then you fast forward, and I don't like to make this about race, but honestly, it's a racist policy, and it's jacked up because this is targeting us, immigrants. I'm not an immigrant. We're Americans, right? And they're Americans, in my opinion, in my view. But it's because of this piece of paper, they are not considered Americans. They're considered residents. And they're pushed right out. And who does it affect mostly? Those of Mexican origin. And then some others around the world, because they are all over the world.
Right.
They're in the Philippines, Jamaica, Central South America, and Europe. They're all over the world. Africa, I get it. But because Mexico is our neighboring country, because most of our ancestors come from there, or at least mine, they're from the region here, northern Mexico, southern California. Everyone always thinks I come from Chiapas or something. I'm like, whatever. They always tell me, where do you come from? I'm like, oh, California. No, but like, where does your family come from? California? But what part of Mexico? Ooh, the part attached to the border, like kind of like Imperial County, Mexicali people, but your people had to come from somewhere. Yeah, where do your fucking people come from? Tell me about that. Oh, we're from Oklahoma. No, motherfucking Indians were in Oklahoma. Native Americans are in Oklahoma. You come from somewhere else. So I always found the same thing. I don't know. We're regional. I don't know. I did a DNA test. 46% of my DNA is Native American from the region, Sonora, Mexicali, and all that. And 44% is from a part in southern Spain. So I only bring this up is because there is no true origin for me. Like, my origin is Brawley, California. As far as I'm concerned, my grandmother was born here. My mother was born a little bit south of the border, about probably like a quarter of a mile south, right? Because this is the way we live. This is the way. She was born in 1956 down there. My dad was born about probably 200 yards south of the border in 1950, and his father was born in Los Angeles in 1925. So, you know what I mean? Like, we're regional people.
Yeah.
And at this point, there's no point in trying to figure out exactly where we come from, because I think everyone's lost that. So I say I'm from Brawley, California. Let that be good enough, and move on. So,
man, it's like a civilian looking in, and I've seen videos where when they get sworn in.
Yeah.
I think at that point right there, once you're swearing in, saying, you know what, I'm willing to die for my country. That's where it should be like, you know what, you're an American citizen.
Yeah.
And
that's when it's it.
And that's the way it should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, what I found very interesting is that I talked to politicians, and most of them didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, right? Some of them are courageous enough to do it because they understand what this is aimed at. But the American people, white, black, brown, doesn't matter what party, right, left, red, blue, conservative, liberal, somewhere in the middle. 99%, I would say 99% because there's always one jackass there who thinks he's special and, and everyone else, and no, and they don't, and they deserve better than everyone else. They all agree that if you serve this country and you put your life on the line, because that's what it is, you never know. Those 13 Marines that died 2 weeks ago in Kabul in Afghanistan, they were there to extract. They were in and out, right? They didn't expect that, but they knew that there was a possibility. And unfortunately, it happened. And it's a real shame, but that is honestly something that every troop lives with. If I don't know what, at least in my experience, but I don't know what job you could have in the service where you think, hey, I'm never going to end up in combat. I'm never going to end up in a war zone, because it could kick off at any minute, and a conflict anywhere around the world where we need to be there, and they just might call your name, and you got to go. If your unit gets called up, you go. You could get shot down. You could, one of my buddies who died, she was the first female to die in combat action in Afghanistan in December of 2001. They were on a helo, and they hit a mountainside in a rainstorm. You know what I mean? She felt safe. They were obviously in some kind of altercation. They were flying off, and why would they be flying in that? Obviously, they had to in those conditions, and they all died. It was like 23 of them. So it happens, and it could happen at any minute. So that's why I was like, anyone who signs up, in my opinion, and I respect the heck out of them, they have some balls, because you have to know and you have to expect that you're going to be put in harm's way. More than likely you will, especially those who joined after September 11th, because they knew they were going to be put in harm's way. That takes guts, man. That's a lot of courage. There were a lot of people in Vietnam era who left the country. They were draft dodgers, and and in this era, they were all volunteers. That takes a lot of freaking guts to do. Every one of them was a volunteer. And also, I heard somebody say, "Oh, I didn't have to go. You went, but I didn't have to go." You know what? None of us had to. None of us had to, but we went. Some of us stayed. Some of us left after a while. Others came and went. That's the way it goes. But always it was, front and center. We all knew that at any minute we could be. And I remember that they always told me that. All my commanders, everyone I've served under us said, always be ready. Always be ready to go. So that's what we say, physically fit. We said mentally ready. I always had a bag packed ready to go. And if I didn't, I knew exactly where all my stuff was, where I could pack it within 5 minutes. And I remember all my briefings as I became a sergeant and started to go into like higher level briefings. We were always on the edge, on the cusp of going to war. And then September 11th happened, so there was 2 wars, but that was crazy. So yes, as soon as these men and women swear in, that should also be their swearing for,
Yes.
But it's tricky though. It's tricky. So I always say my goal is, if you exit active duty with an honorable discharge, it should come attached with the citizenship. Yeah. Because there's people who will scam it. There's a way to get out of the service too, and they'll scam it. You swear in, you become a citizen, and all of a sudden, you could wet your bed 3 nights in a row, and then you're gone. You failure to adapt, they release you, and that's a trick, and people can do it. And again, the service isn't for everybody. It's not. That's okay too. But the ones that are able to and willing to, I think they're a special breed. And anyone who is here as a green card resident and is still willing to fight and die for this nation is like at another level, because they don't even have that guarantee that we have, right? And they are willing to do it anyways. To me, that's an exceptional human being, and that's why it hurts me so much to see that these men and women, after they serve and some of the experiences and the shit they went through, they end up where they end up. And, we as a country can do much better, in my opinion.
So this whole walk the line, how did it all start?
So I started working with some groups, some podcasters out of they're on active duty and whatnot. And they were throwing names at me, and they throw all kinds of stupid shit at me. And I was like, what is this? What are you guys talking about, And for some reason, this came back. I had actually skipped the name, and then I came back to it because it applied. They were talking about Walk the Line like the song, But in my opinion, when I came back to us, that makes sense because we're walking the borderline. So we're literally walking the line. And walking the line means more than just walking on a line, right? It means like, putting your butt on the line, making something happen, putting your money where your mouth is, and it just made sense. We put walk the line, and there's all these little remixes and stuff. I don't know if you guys would catch it on my storylines where I'll put up a picture with walk the line with a different remix. I thought it was pretty cool. It was fun, but we just needed a name. And what's cool about it is that now that it's sticking because that was the inaugural, right? That was the first walk. There are more coming, but these are going to be big events with fundraising and fundraisers attached to it. So Walk the Line 2021 is done and over with. That was an inaugural event. And as the leader of this group, or nonprofit, I did it, which shows that anybody can do it. And going forward, we'll break it down and we'll use it to help to raise funds to help veterans, not just deported veterans, but veterans who need help, mental health, with mental health issues, with homelessness, with whatever. I don't care, whatever a veteran needs, because they won't ask. But it's just a hand up, and we're gonna help them. And look, I get it. Everyone needs help. I get it, all that. There's a lot of stuff happening in this world. We all need a hand up. But this is such a small segment of the population. This is a group of us who don't have powerful lobbyists in D.C. It's a bunch of us who, don't have representation. Less than 1% of the population has served in the military. And our guys have been exposed to some real shitty stuff that affects the body and affects the mind and affects the spirit. So when you come back, eventually we get older, right? We get older, we get weaker, our minds start to break down, our bodies start to break down, and that's when these men and women need help. And it happens sooner to some than others. But either way, we think that along the way, the government can't solve it all. The government can't fix everything for us. It takes a community to make stuff happen and make stuff and fix things. So, in my opinion, we're going to take whatever the government can give as far as aid and help and guidance. But I think it's going to be up to us and up to us in the veteran community and those of us who are still kind of healthy, to help those that are in need, And so, I feel lucky that I'm here, that I'm healthy. I have, all my aches and pains. I have my own mental issues, but I'm able to function. I was able to adapt, and I can help others. And I don't just get involved helping veteran organizations. I help a lot of different things. I do them as much as I can, either throwing $20 out here or going to, help somebody clean something up. It doesn't matter. Just a few hours, out of the month can go a long way if we all volunteer, if we all do it together. So, but going forward, that is my goal. And as long as God gives me life and energy and the endurance to do this, I'm gonna keep doing it. So there's no reason why not to. Why stop, right?
Yeah.
How do you go do this some crazy like this and then just say, all right, I'm done? No, you gotta capitalize on that movement. So,
So you going into San Diego? Was there already news reporters lined up?
So that's when it hit me, right? The word news.
What I wanted to ask.
There's an image. I think my wife posted it. Natalie posted it. And there's an image of me standing there, and I'm surrounded by reporters. And yes, everyone was there. Reuters, San Diego Union Tribune, ABC, CBS, all the local
Los Angeles
press.
Times.
Yeah, Los Angeles Times, Univision, Televisa, they were there. Televisa, that's the national chain for Mexico. They were there. So you know who failed me? Fox failed me. CNN failed me. They can all kiss my ass. I stopped watching them a long time ago anyways. They didn't come through. But all the local and the national Reuters specifically, and the San Diego Union Tribune, and the Ivy Press. And so did Roman Flores from the Desert Review. But you think about this, it's kind of a shitty thing because I hit the national, not me, the work that we did hit the cover of the press across the nation. I don't know how many towns, how many local newspapers and large newspapers. We made the cover of the newspapers, we made national stories, we made all this stuff. And in the Desert Review, my hometown paper runs our story on the second page, and not even at the top, but at the bottom. I was like, come on, Desert Review, you can show us some love. They didn't. That's my hometown paper. Ran our story behind, local school district changes its mind on requiring masks for students to go to school. I'm like, really? Like, fuck. That's cool. They always say that the hate's gonna come from those closest to you.
Oh, we can relate to that.
Right?
Big
You
time.
guys can relate.
Yeah.
If we don't lift each other up, then we're always gonna be crabs in a barrel. I feel like I'm in a place now where the crabs can't really reach me, but they always could, man. Some can jump higher than others, and they could. But yeah, crabs in a barrel, and they're in the barrel that you live in. So,
like when I would repost the stuff on Triple Scoop, bro, your stories, and I'd have my cousins calling me, hey, bro, what the fuck is he doing? And I was like, he's walking on, and I started explaining to them, and they're like, damn, that's crazy, and it's just like, so I was, like I said, our platform might be big, but, we're reaching people.
well, that's how the word gets out. I mean,
and that's, and that needs to, like I said, we need to lift each other up.
absolutely, absolutely.
Now,
And anything
I
that
want to ask did it feel like a celebrity, and what's that like? Like you have all these people watching you, and I know you're 1,000% he's for the cause, right? But it had to have been kind of weird, like having that much attention.
So I'll tell you when it first hit me, right?
I saw your followers going up too.
Like, he's always been in the spot. No, I'm just kidding. He's always been a jokester. So
I've always
did that help, like with comfort, or
it helped? Yeah, all the things that we had been doing in the past, because I continue to be a smartass, but we delivered some very powerful speeches, and I think that matters, and that helped us a lot of times, right? But and other times, I was sitting there, and I'll give you an example. I was in New Mexico, and this young reporter comes up. She must have been 25, 27 years old, and there was a lot of stuff happening around us, and I'm focusing and very intensely on her, trying to listen to what she's saying and asking so that I don't say something stupid or I start rambling like I've been doing here tonight. And she says she starts to shake. Her leg starts to tremble, and then her hand that was holding the microphone started to tremble. And I just thought, I paused and I smiled at her, and she goes, I'm sorry, oh my God, I feel like I'm talking to a celebrity right now. And I go, well, far from that. There's no celebrity here. You're the celebrity. She is a celebrity, you're a local celebrity. And it was just weird because me and Oscar were laughing about it, and he kept teasing me the rest of the time. But it kept happening where we ran into some construction workers in New Mexico right before we crossed into Texas. And you guys have seen that picture, right? It kind of made it. I think that was shared, I don't know, like 80 times, 100 times. And in the comments, it was crazy, like how that lit up. Well, right before that, I ran into some TikTokers that are very famous. They got like, I don't know, 1 million followers. And they were working on a house, and they're doing something, and they were bullshitting and recording themselves, but working. And then they go, hey, ese es el pinche loco que va caminando toda la frontera, ¿verdad? And then Oscar says, "Hey," and I had already told him those are the guys from TikTok. And we were walking, we were hauling ass right, so I couldn't pause, and I couldn't always do that. Like as much as I wanted to, the phone would actually. I had a step count, and I had a stride distance. So my stride went from initially 24 inches when I started to about 32 inches, and we were taking about 6,000 steps per hour. So anything that threw me off that, including texting and calling, all that shit, it had to be put away, especially when we had a deadline. It became like I had it all down to like I could tell you where I was gonna be, and I would always give myself about an hour window. So we had to go 40 miles. You'd think about 12 hours, roughly 13 hours, and then I would say I'll be there in 14 hours or 15. And if we had to be there, for example, in Douglas, we had to be there at 7 p.m. I started at 3:30 in the morning, and we barely made it. So, but yeah, eventually it got to that point. We are currently, when I got to a little bit past Texas, I was contacted by a filmmaker, and I can't talk about it too much right now. I had to sign an agreement, but it's a documentary. The first one was very successful. This is a sequel to that, and it talks about America's broken system. They pick 4 subjects to highlight in their movies, and then obviously everyone around them, right? So it's like all these little crews, but 4 subjects they're the subject of the movie. 4 people, and they go into their stories and their work and all of the interviews and everything that happens, right? And we were selected to be one of the main subjects in that. So in May, we'll be doing a national tour, releasing the movie in theaters, all across the country.
Damn.
So this past Sunday, I was in TJ. We were filming the first day of the walk. When the first day of the walk, I met with Deported Veterans in Tijuana. That was on Sunday, and then officially started walking on Monday. So we went back and we recreated some scenes for the beginning of what was Sunday, right on the Mexican side, starting in the ocean. And people were like, the masses, they were gathering because you could see the filmmaker, you could see people. I had like a little entourage there. Somebody was holding my sandals, and and it was just fucking weird. But
Wow.
I'll show you guys some footage after. But my son was recording, and so you had these little cameras following me around, and you have a famous Hollywood director down there filming me, and I wear my boonie hat real low, right, because it covers up my face and my eyes, and it helps me when I'm on the walk, helps me focus on. So I kept wearing it that same way, but being that I'm so short, most people are taller, they want to see who the fuck is this guy, right? So they would walk by me, and they'd be like, they would peek, and I would just wink. I would wink and I would smile, and I'd keep walking. That is the weirdest shit, and it's so uncomfortable. It has nothing to do, like, I don't like. It's cool, right? It's cool. I can't deny it. It's really cool. People are like, oh, who is that? But then the fucked up part is when they come to you, they look at you and they're like, I don't know who that guy is. And they just go away feeling like, like they were let down, And so I would just smile. I would wink and smile. And I was telling the director, like, they think it's someone famous. And when they see that I'm not, they go away disappointed. She was like, you are going to be famous. And I go, no, I'm not. She goes, you're going to be so famous after May. They made me sign a disclosure that said they are not responsible for what comes with the fame that's attached to becoming this actor. And I'm like, yeah, right. I signed it like, yeah, right. But, let's say that does happen. Let's say we're able to, it does happen and elevates us to another level. We got to take advantage of that. And I want it not for me to be like, oh, I'm a movie star. Fuck all that shit. That's pointless. Movie stars come and go all the time. They go and they become waste. They get into drugs or alcohol or, they end up, I don't know. But some of them do it right, and you got to use whatever is given to you, whatever life throws at you. It's an opportunity to do more good. I have a mission, and if that happens, I'll take it because it's going to help me and help our organization and help all of us, the people that are with me, to do more good. So, I mean, heck yeah, let's take it, let's bring it, and I can't wait to see the movie, actually.
That's awesome,
I talk a lot of
man.
shit in it. Like, I'm so serious. I drop some serious crap on politicians, so they might be mad at me, but I don't care. I mean, what are you going to do to me? Deport me? Who knows, right?
Doing a red carpet event here in the Valley, man?
We're hoping, I'm going to ask for one. It's in major. It's going to be in major cities, Los Angeles, San Diego. Probably be in some in Phoenix, and then El Paso, Dallas, and then Florida, and some of these other bigger cities. And I'm hoping that we can present some of this here in Imperial Valley, because it'd be really neat. It's my hometown, in Brawley. And the only thing is that I would like to see is that we are able to have it in a venue where we could actually drink a beer while we watch it, right? So the only venue that could probably host that is probably like the local auditorium at the high school. And but I don't know. That's gonna be neat, though. I mean, that's a whole. At least I know that I'm gonna get more than 3,000 followers on Instagram. So, and that was the one thing when I noticed that when Reuters, I didn't even get to that part. Reuters captured an image of me, like deep in thought, and the flag. The wind was blowing, the flag was furling, and all that. That image was submitted, and it was selected as one of the top 27 images, most impactful images in the world for the day. And I was like, that doesn't sound like a lot. But if you think about how many independent reporters work for Reuters around the world, and how many images are submitted daily for this, and the photographer that took those pictures was so excited that happened, I couldn't comprehend it.
Right.
But here's how it went. That day, I said a prayer with the guys that were south of the border. I got some images of that. And I think if you saw me post it yesterday of me, like, taking a knee with the flag at the fence, and south of it are other deported veterans. That's one of the images where I stood up. I was deep in thought, right? And because when I got up, the reporters rushed them to the fence, and I'm just like looking at them, and I didn't focus, and I'm deep in thought. I'm thinking about everything that's happening and what we have to do. And this reporter kept taking pictures of me. That image was submitted, and that day Univision, Maria Eugenia Payan, who was in Despierta America all these years and whatnot, is in El Paso, decides to run a story on it. Her story was taken, right? And it was shoved. It was put away. and this was I think on Wednesday. On Thursday or Friday, the image was selected as one of the most impactful in the world, and then was shared on Facebook News, and Yahoo Finance picked up the story. How the fuck Yahoo Finance would pick it up? It was shared immediately like 2,000 times on Facebook, and then the story went viral through Reuters just with the image. So what happens is Univision then takes the story from Reuters and they plug it into their Instagram and Facebook stories, and then Mario Eugenia Payan reaches out to the director and says, "What are you guys doing? You're taking Reuters' story, but I fucking just produced I just did a whole story on it. We spent all day working on this." Well, what happens then is the producer goes back and looks at it. They run it on their Saturday night prime time. They run it again their Sunday morning when they have all the big news or whatever. And they run it again Monday morning on Despierta America. From there, it opened up everything. This was halfway, exactly the middle point of our trip, day 21. And it was just, after that, it was just like, it was crazy. Like, I was surprised at what was happening. It all came so quick. But I didn't have time to even focus on that. I was just focused on trying to get through the next day, you know? Right. So, just, you know, we were blessed. We were just, I hate to use that term, but saying you're blessed to me implies that God prefers you over somebody else. So let's take that back. We just got lucky, and I don't believe in coincidences. We were just all there at the right time, the right place. The right people came to support us, and then this happened. So, and I'm very grateful for all of that, and the press made it happen, and everyone who supported us just really good. The guys south of the border, man, those guys are a good sport. You come down there, all these people come down there all the time, use them for a story, use them for a photo shoot, and then they disappear. So, right. And they told me to my face, like, everybody does this. What's different? I'm a fucking veteran, bro. Some of these guys I go I surf with, I was with them in boot camp. We're serving with them in Kuwait, and we didn't know each other. We had no idea. We probably bumped shoulders and, you know, didn't realize we were to see each other again 20 years later.
Now what was, I mean, of course the walk was very stressful on your legs. What was the feeling like as soon as you stopped, as soon as you knew you were done? Were you like ready to just like take some days off, take a vacation, or was it like just an overwhelming feeling that, oh no, my body's gonna like go crazy?
You know, so a habit takes 30 days to develop. It also takes 30 days to kick it. So when I came home, after 2 days, first off, we get home and we total our vehicle. We're on our way to Baja Fest. So we didn't go to Baja Fest.
Oh my God. So you finished and you're going to go?
Yeah, I come home. We come home. We spend a whole day driving, me and the guys. And then I get home. I go buy some clothes. We're on our way to Baja Fest. And we total our vehicle, our SUV.
And by looking at those pictures, man, you know.
Yeah, it was rough.
Oh,
yeah, it was rough. But again, it's not my time.
Yeah.
You know, my time comes, it's going to catch me here bullshitting with you guys. I'm going to choke on it.
No. That's not going to happen.
Bullshitting with somebody else. And
put it out for the ratings.
yeah, you guys will blow up for sure. You just get to make sure some royalties go to my family, you know. But my body went into shock. My feet, my legs swelled. I lost feeling in several toes and other parts of my feet. And at night, it still happens that my legs start to shake, almost like restless leg syndrome, I think. I start losing feeling, and my body, they alone start to, like, this feeling like of anxiety kick comes over me, and I start kicking. It took a little while for it to go away. My wife and I started walking last week, and then immediately the feeling came back in at night. So my body's adjusting, and I'm healing right now. I still have these stress fractures, and it just takes it beats you up. It beats you up bad, and it's not. I'm not saying that because I want to anybody to feel sorry for me. It's the facts, and but again, life is a matter of perspective. You and I could sit here today, and Jedi, you could be saying, man, this house, I hate it. It's not big enough. It's not this. It's not. I think it's a great home, by the way. But some people aren't satisfied with that. But then if you stop and look at what the other situation people are in, people are living in the streets. There are people that are homeless. There are people that I saw sleeping in dumpsters, or in the gutters, or on a bench, and their conditions were so bad that this is a palace.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a matter of perspective. So I have brothers and sisters, who served, who are missing limbs, and now they're doing much greater things than walking, every day for 45 days. They're out there making stuff happen. So it's a matter of perspective, and for me to play the victim and say, oh my God, or play the hero because I did something like that, that's just ridiculous. Yes, it took a lot of work. Yes, it was a huge undertaking. Yes, it beat me up. But at the end of the day, I'm still here. I can still wiggle my toes. I can walk. I can talk. I can, whatever. And there are people who, and the great example we have, again, go back to those 13 Marines from last week. They didn't come home. Many of them didn't get to live past 25.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me to sit here and feel sorry for myself, that's just a bunch of crap. We've been lucky to be here. There are no coincidences in life. And if I'm here, it's for a reason. I love how 50 Cent will always say, he got shot like I got shot, but I'm still breathing, and it's for a reason. And so, the way 50 Cent put it, I always like, yeah, he's a great poet, I think. Not everybody agrees with me. They're like, a rapper, really? Yes, I think he's a great poet. We have a purpose in life. We all have to find it. Sometimes it takes a little longer. I feel like this is a calling for me. And if you have the ability to make something happen and help somebody next to you, then why not? And then why not these men and women who were there when I was there, who put their butts on the line?
Yeah.
I want to help many. I want to help as many people as I can. My wife feels the same way. My children are kind of getting the hang of it, right? And that's another thing. You're setting an example for the next generation. If we're all a bunch of selfish pricks, guess what our kids are going to be?
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of little selfish douchebags. And so we have to set the example for them so that they are better people. And then these kids, when they grow up, and they set the example for their children. So if we remember that, every day when we get up, we can, we're not perfect. We screw up left and right every day with the things we say, with the things we do. But our actions is the way we do things throughout life is what our children will see. We are their example. If we are little selfish dipshits, guess what? Our children are going to be the same. So when we judge our kids, they're getting that from us. I see that when my kids are like that, I'm like, man, they're getting that from us. So we have to change that. And I think that if people are very conscious of that, they think about that every day, just they're setting an example for the next generation. And if you care about your children, your grandchildren. You know what I care about my kids 10 generations from now? What are we leaving behind, the legacy and the work, and what are we teaching them? You guys ever watch me on city council? You listen to the shit I'm saying. People are thinking, wow, he's this, he's that. But really listen to my words when I say, what am I leaving behind for my children? That matters to me. That's why it matters to me the way we handle our budget. It matters to me the way we handle our city. And I'm not about, I could do stuff, right? I could, be corrupt and make money and do all these things. I'm sure that there are ways to do that. But at the end of the day, I'm there because I'm curious. I'm not curious. I care about what I leave behind for my children. And that should matter. And I'm sure it matters to you guys. You guys are stand-up guys, but not everybody sees the world the same way.
Yeah.
And so, at least for me, I know that I'm doing my part. And for the next generation and the generation after. Because I hope that my children, eventually one day, they might be bratty and snobby right now, but one day we all wake up, right? We mature and we start seeing the world for what it is. And what do you fall back to? Even the way we chew our kids out, right? You can either chew out like your parents did, or you realize that you can't do that because some parents weren't good parents. But we always revert back to what we know, and what we know is how we were raised.
Right.
So
yeah.
Think about that, and I always say that to everybody. Think about that and what kind of person you portray and you are in front of your children. My children will see this, and they're gonna think of all the dumb shit and all the times I chewed them out, whatever. But one day they're gonna decide to just go Google, shit, that's my dad, and they're gonna be like, well, fuck it, if that little shithead did it, I can do it too.
Hopefully, it won't be in those words, but probably.
I don't care. I don't give a shit. I mean, they can refer to me any way they want. as long as they try, they pick up the good. And my grandfather told me this. You met my grandfather, and he was a very wise man. He was also a very angry man. He had a lot of something about him. But he told me if he felt that it was worth the time, he would talk to you. And he told me one day, I must have been about 14 years old. He goes, look, you're going to meet a lot of people, and people are going to try to come and get you. They're going to want things from you. They're going to want to give you things. He goes, they all have something good and something bad. He goes, if you want to make a good life for yourself, and you surround yourself with all these people, they're going to come and go. None of them are going to stick around forever. But each one of them has something that's valuable. And it's not the material part. It's what they can teach you. We all have something valuable in us, and we all have something shitty in us. He said, take what's valuable, what's good in them, and try to imitate that, and forget about the bad. And as you go through 100 people, you take up all those valuable things, those good things in them, and then hopefully it'll make you a better person. That's what he said to me. He said, hopefully it'll make you a better person. And I love them dearly, but that's wise, and I took that, and because there are people who sometimes I have resentment, and I feel betrayed, and I feel like, there are friends who still haven't called me after I finish this. Yeah. And I have that resentment sometimes, like, that's fucked up. Like, well, I thought they were my friends. That's okay. They're not. But they gave me good things. They gave me good experiences. They gave me good examples and good things to follow, what kind of person we should be. So let's be grateful for all those people instead of being angry at them. So it's a little hurtful. That's okay. But I am very grateful for all of them to have been in my life. And now that they decided to move on, that's fine too. So, we'll keep going, but I did what my grandpa said, and I took what was good from them, and I try my best not to be a shitty person, which I am a lot. I get it, but most especially, you take what's good from people. It's gonna set a good example. It's gonna lead you in the right path. So. Now,
for those that want to continue to bring awareness, where can they do?
Oh shit! You guys are about to cut me off right now. I've been rambling inside. We're gonna visit. Obviously, find my pages. You can find me Ramon Castro. Put in Brawley because there are like 100,000 Ramon Castros here in the USA and in Mexico and everywhere. But look at my name, right? Ramon Castro, or go to Monchillo Castro on Instagram or American Veterans Home Front Initiative. And if all fails, just Google my name and Google Brawley and any one of those articles. They usually run the nonprofit. They'll run my name. You'll be able to find me. It's real easy. You just got to tie those two things, my name and the city of Brawley. So, and that's it. And, we'll be doing some stuff. Planning something for Veterans Day. Not sure what yet. Mm-hmm. And we're planning the walk for next spring. Probably, after, probably middle of March, early April.
A little bit cooler weather.
Yes, that's one thing.
Thank you, Ramon.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and you guys can help us. There'll be teams. There'll be relays. You can do a mile, 10. You can do 100. California's about 180 miles.
Go for it, bro.
Why not?
Triple Scoop could do a mile.
You guys can. I tell you what. You guys can live stream from any of these points. So we are going to set up towns where people will be going through. We want to set up. It's got to be a big event, and we're going to be raising money to help our veterans. And again, our nonprofit isn't geared just to veterans. It also includes people in need, but our focus is in veterans. So if we see something out there for them, we'll get it for them from somewhere else, and if we have extra funds, and if we can help people here along the way somewhere, we will. So
that's beautiful,
cool, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
What else? What else you got for me?
Anything else? Anything else you want to touch on? That
the beer was
he said no. He's
I'll bring some more beer right now.
No, just guys, look. This was a lot of work. This wasn't done for to focus on me as an individual. It was to focus on a particular issue. It's not for fame. It wasn't to raise money. It was to raise awareness, because those of us who live 20 miles from the border don't know about it. Imagine those that are living, 200-300 miles, and some of those that aren't in these communities that are like, high propensity, like high, a lot of Mexicans or immigrants, where the stories get out, they spread, right? But outside of these communities, no one knew about it. And so we did a decent job. We chipped away, I think, at a very small percentage of the nation, but it helps to build awareness, our movement, along with so many others. So, that's what it was for. We're not done yet. We just started. We have a lot of work to do. Just keep an eye out for that, Hit a like on some of our posts and share it, because believe it or not, what you guys were doing here at home went much further than what I was doing on that walk. That was just the highlight of it. But the fact that you guys were sharing, talking about it, what we're doing here tonight. You know, I don't know how many views you get. You could get thousands. You could get a few hundred. But whatever you get, whatever, you know, this is going to, everyone, it's like a ripple effect. It's going to keep going.
Right.
So I appreciate you guys. Appreciate what you guys are doing, especially what you're doing when I was on the walk.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, man.
Everyone, man. All the Deported Veterans.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna keep doing it. But yeah, so this, believe it or not, is extremely valuable to the movement and to the things that we're doing because it helps to get the word out. So,
Yeah.
so thank you
Yeah.
guys. Appreciate
Definitely,
it.
man. Like I said, appreciate you. Appreciate the job that you're doing. You know, thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
And other than that, man, you know, keep moving forward, man. And you know, like I said, definitely we would love to be a part of anything. You know, if we can help you out in any way, you know, even if it's just our platform to just share something like we've been doing. You know,
Yeah, that's a great platform.
You know, so definitely, man.
Always fun.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you for
guys,
what
man.
you're doing, man. Appreciate
Thank you guys, and we're on video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Do my